Okay, so first, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Creators Block podcast. We have special guest Briana Sista on this episode, and Briana Sista is a really good friend of mine. She's a model, she's an entrepreneur, she's just an overall multi-creative. At this point, she actually has years of experience working in the music, film, and modeling industries, and has worked with some pretty big names, actually. Some of the names are like A Boogie, Arcángel, J Balvin, Remy Ma, and way more. I can't even name all of them. At this point, she's been published in some beauty, fashion, and commercial work. So some stores are actually Against All Odds and Justin Alexander. She actually started a coaching workshop. We'll get into more details on that exactly, and what's it about, and how to even be a part of it. And we also get started on her working experience and how she got into it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. It was a pleasure talking to Briana. This is actually her second time as a guest. And again, as always, there is a timeline laid out in the description. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, you can skip to your favorite part if you don't have time. But again, thank you guys, and I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, ready?
All right. I don't know what the intro is going to be, so I'm just going to we're just going to go ahead and start.
Okay.
Okay, so Briana.
Hey.
It's been a while since we spoke.
Yes. It's like
Since
a
the last
year.
podcast.
It was a year, I think.
It was a year almost.
Yeah.
Almost, right?
I don't know. It was like March, April.
Something like that. So, a lot has happened since then.
Yes.
So, let's start, first tell me about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Briana.
Elvis.
Nice to meet you, Elvis. Yeah, so basically I model, and I also do a lot of work behind the camera. It's just been something that I feel like I've always known that I wanted to do since I was younger. I've always wanted to be in front of the camera, just making people happy, or creating art, just finding a way to express myself through. I need to watch my hand zone.
Oh, that does me.
Watching myself through, expressing myself through physical art instead of holding things in emotionally, because that was a big thing about me. So
Briefly, kind of go over, how did you start in modeling again?
So how I started with modeling, it was kind of weird. I was always on and off with it when I was younger, but just because of school, and then I played soccer, and then I was playing the piano too, so it was not a priority for me at the time. And then when I got into high school, I started to get really busy, so I completely sidelined it. But then I think it was I want to say senior year, junior year of high school, I started taking acting classes. And I was it's funny because I went in there and I was I would never model, I would never be in front of the camera, all of this stuff, I want to act, you'll never catch me modeling, blah, blah, blah.
And you're whoa.
Yeah, and then a couple weeks or months into that, I started to see all the girls that are taking runway classes, and I would watch it on the classes and stuff, and they looked really cool. I was you know what, just gonna try it, it's not gonna hurt to try. So I started doing runway classes, and I was doing them for a year almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then just from there, I was getting little jobs here and there, and then I would network on the set, make a lot of connections with the directors, the casting directors, the models on the set, or whoever it may be, just meeting everyone there, getting in contact with everybody. And then from there, things just started to snowball. So
let's talk about, because a lot of people are starting modeling, and you're becoming an influence when it comes to that. Talk about how you felt when you first decided, okay, I'm going to be a model. What were your feelings with that? Because it could be very iffy. A lot of people become very insecure when it comes to modeling.
Yeah, and I think that was a big thing. I think that's what stopped me at first, and why I pushed myself away, because I always thought of models as what you see in magazines and what you see on
they're
runway shows.
Yeah,
it's all really tall, skinny girls with really tiny features, and me being short, me having tattoos, a big nose, all that stuff. I was always I can't be a model. I don't have the features of a model or whatever. So that's kind of what stopped me at first. But then I was you know what, if it's something I want to do, who's to tell me no? So I started doing that, and at first it definitely was hard, and it did bring me down, and I was getting insecure because I was always around these girls that were different than how I looked,
Yeah.
I was always around runway models because of the classes. I was the only girl in the class that was 5'3", 5'4". Everyone else was 5'8" to 6 foot.
10 feet
yeah,
and stuff.
so it was like discouraging. And then at first, you know, you go to castings and you don't get them, and like that is discouraging. But as time went on, I started to become satisfied with like what I was doing and like the art I was producing. So I was like, it doesn't even matter at this point, like if these people don't want to book me for stuff, or if, you know, I don't look like these other girls, because I was content with what I was doing. And I think that's a big thing nowadays, is especially because of Instagram and like how saturated it is now.
Oh yeah, it's like everyone's technically a model now.
Yeah, like everyone wants to do something. So it's like everyone feels like they have to be in like a competition with each other, kind of. And it's no one just like takes the time to just be content with themselves and like with their work. And that's one thing that I kind of take pride in, and I try to only surround myself with like models that feel that same way.
Yeah, like the
is
same
that
mindset.
They're satisfied with themselves and they're content with themselves. Because I ran into so many people that weren't like that, and were just trying to feed off of you and like your connections, or were using you and then like talking about you behind your back. So
yeah, and that sucks because like especially with like the modeling and the creative industry, although people like to collab a lot, people talk, photographers talk to other people, videographers talk to each other, directors,
everyone talks, and
models
it's
talk
such
to each other.
a small industry at the end of the day. Like,
and yeah, like surprisingly, like although it's pretty vast now in a way, but it's people talk enough that it ends up being smaller than it seems like it.
It's such like I've ran into people that know people that I was like, how would you even like?
Yeah, and
where does like that connection come in? And that's like the annoying thing, because I can have opinions on people. Like, it's human to have an opinion on somebody, but to me, like, my opinion shouldn't affect like if you work with this person or not.
Yeah, that's gossip at the end of the day.
Yeah, this is if it's something very alarming, like this person stole like $1,500 from me, I'd probably be like, hey, like this is different. But if it's something that's like, I've had photographers, I've showed up to sets before, and like I had a photographer ask me to go like buy a film camera for him because he forgot his battery, or like rushing the set, or like booking an Airbnb or something in the set not looking like what I expected it to be and how I came prepped for it. And obviously if I'm coming to that set and I'm expecting all these things and it's not like that, it's gonna show.
Yeah.
Because especially if it's a collab, it's like, all right, I just spent my money to come here.
Especially if it's a collab.
Yeah,
like that's a big thing.
For me, like nowadays too, if I'm collabing with you, it needs to be for a purpose, you know? Like I have people like I shoot with for fun once in a while, but you know, it has to be with a purpose. So I've had photographers, it being like their fault that I'm on the set, like not trying my hardest, or not even that. It's just like, I didn't expect it to be like this. Now it's going to show him like how I'm performing. And then they'll go like talk and talk and talk.
And especially with the collab, like it's not paid. So that's a collab. You're most likely going to try to use it for your portfolio in a way.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like it needs to be for a reason.
Yeah.
So,
like it's not, that makes complete sense. But, we have still yet to shoot.
Me and Elvis have been trying to shoot for like 10 years, literally.
So
we had a whole studio together and we just never shot.
I don't know why.
We did that one test shoot that time.
Oh,
remember, like with the silhouette, and there was everyone in the room.
Yeah,
like,
but that wasn't. We gotta like actually plan something. That was crazy. But but like now I'm more into like filmmaking now. So like I have an idea that I'm gonna talk to you about afterwards, and it requires a lot of people because it's gonna be like a continuous shot kind of thing. But okay, so it's been a while. So it's been like almost a year since we met, since we last spoke. So after that interview, let's talk about what happened after that. So we talked about AWOL Studios.
Yes.
You guys had a spot in the Art Factory.
Yeah.
And I ended up joining you guys at the Art Factory.
Yes.
And we had like a lot of people there. It was just it was a cool experience though.
It was a learning experience, and that's what I realized like throughout all of this is like I can't let those little things, like, you know how I am. Like, I go through, like, my times where I'm like, all right, this is, like, really annoying. Like, I get down for, like, a few days. But I've just learned to look at everything like, you know what? It happened. Like, if I like that person, I like them. If I don't, I don't. But it's just, like, whatever at this point. Like, I can still keep going with myself and my business.
And the overall studio itself, though, like, what... like you shot a lot there. Obviously, like you used it to like almost as like full potential, you know.
Literally, yeah.
So talk about your experience at like the Art Factory. Like who'd you work with, and what did you like most about it?
It was such a like amazing and like also a like bad experience at the same time. I want to say it was more of a bad experience, not on the studio itself, more of just like it being like my first business and the first time I did something like that. So I was very vulnerable. I was just not too sure.
I mean, but how old are you?
I'm 20, so like I can't like, I took a leap of faith, but it was like,
but it's like
it worked out in the end in my favor.
It's insignificant compared to like anything
else that's happening. So like there was some downfalls, but with anything, especially your first year in a business, like there's gonna be downfalls. But it brought like so many amazing opportunities. I met like AD Media, Will Dre, and then from there, like I started doing a lot of casting. So I started like kind of taking some models under my wing and sending them for videos and stuff instead of, me putting myself in that position.
Because you branched out a lot from there. So when we last spoke, I was just modeling. You were just modeling, but you mentioned that you want to be more than just a model.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about like what have you been doing ever since that moment, because you're not just modeling anymore. You've directed some videos. You're like we said, you got into casting because of that, and just talk about how that came out to be.
So like I said, like since I was younger, I always knew it was something that like I felt like I had to do. I knew since middle school, I would always tell my dad, like, school isn't for me. Like, I'm telling you, like, I'm not going to college. Like, school isn't for me. Like, I'm gonna be famous or whatever. Like, blah, blah, blah. I used to always tell my dad that. And it was more of just, I wanted to be comfortable with the first thing I was doing, which was modeling, before I opened up, like, any new doors.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, because I didn't want to, like, distract myself from it. And even now, I still try to keep my main focus like at modeling, but on the side, like I said, I do cast for videos. I mostly just cast for like I mostly just
I was like, are you saying I need a turtle mug right now? Okay.
I mostly cast for Will Dre and AD, but like on the side, if people need casting, like I'll do that. So that's something more for me that's like a side hustle. Eventually in the end, like I want to have my own agency or like be a manager for models. So it's like little things that I'm doing to help like build that. But something that I've always liked doing since I was younger in middle school, I bought a Canon T3i, like, and I just used to sit in my room. I bought like a green screen and I bought a MacBook, and I used to sit and I used to just like take pictures of myself. Like I remember I have this one picture and I'm like, my mom got so mad at me. I took a picture off the wall and I took the picture out of the frame and I just used the frame, and like I was doing things on Photoshop. Like,
do you still have those?
They're somewhere. I want to find them because they were cool. Like I feel like I used to edit better then than I do now. But like I remember there's one distinct picture where I was like standing inside of a frame and I like was practicing like
how to be a frame,
erasing like body parts and stuff. So it's like I'm like coming out of the frame. Like I don't have like a bottom, so I like would do that. And then I used to record like, obviously I wouldn't make music, but like I used to record music videos like of myself, like me singing to these people's songs and like doing like jump cuts and all these flashy edits. So it was just something I always was interested in. So
and that kind of led to like you like being involved in a lot of music videos.
Yeah, and that's what helped with like the studio kind of pushed me a little bit more, because I was like, all right, I have all this space now. I have a camera. I have people. I have all the equipment. Like I'm gonna put this to use. So then I started taking videos, taking pictures. And that's something I do more for fun. Like to me, that's like a more of like a relaxing thing for me to do. Yeah. Like it's not like I said, like my main priority. But something that I got really into is like creative directing and directing. And that works for me because like I can creative direct my own shoots and come up with the concepts for my own shoots. But then at the same time, like if with the studio, if we're producing a music video, it works 'cause I can also like give my creative input to that. So
it's interesting. So like let's talk about, you do events now.
Yeah.
So how did that came to be? Because like I remember you like I said, you mentioned it before, but now it's actually taken into action. So what pushed you to make it into action?
So one thing was, I was always getting questions like on Instagram about like, like how do you do like all your like crazy poses and like all your cool poses, or always just questions about like the business and like how to get into modeling and all these things, which I never mind answering. But it was like, okay, why don't I kind of create an event or create a place where
to kind of help people do that?
Yeah, because over Instagram, there's only so much I can tell you,
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not good at typing. Like, I'm not good at explaining myself unless it's like actually speaking. So it's like I'm not able to fully give you like all the information that I would want to be able to give you. So then with the studio, I started doing like one-on-one classes individually. I would like have the girls come in and we would go over runway and posing and just like the business in general. And I'd give them some advice, and then we do like photo shoots and I'd help them with posing throughout that. But then once like we didn't have the studio anymore, I was like, all right, I still need to help these girls, but I don't have the space to do one-on-ones anymore. So I was like, why don't I make this like a big thing where I can have a lot of people involved, and it wouldn't just be one model, you know, it could be a group of things, and they'll get a lot more out of it. I can also, you know, create an event where I can get the people I work with, like you and Pamela and Juliet and Lou and everyone, I can get them a spot as well, like another platform for them to show what they know and what they've learned and share their advice and their words. So that was really important to me too. So
the feedback's been great after the first one too.
Yeah, like I really wasn't like expecting that at all. I thought like it would take some time, but like the difference just from like the first workshop that I have, like compared to the one that's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, like the one.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, tomorrow. But it's just like amazing. I don't know. It's like so happy to me because I love helping people, and I love like being able to like share what I've learned, because I didn't have someone really to go to and like ask the questions that I had. So I like being able to be that person that like people can come to and like ask anything that they have to ask, and I want to make sure that
you're pretty open about it too. Like you're willing to teach a lot. Like it's not.
I ran into so many people that were like just very secretive or very stubborn, like didn't want to share what they knew, and again that comes back to not being like content and confident with yourself.
Yeah, that's I talked about this before. Like when it comes to like a lot of photographers and videographers, they like to hide locations. They like to keep like their insider secrets, quote unquote. But honestly, that's just insecurity. Like it's just.
No one's going to go to that location and make the exact video they did.
Yeah.
And like at the same time, if they did, then
there's a separate thing. It's called plagiarizing.
Yeah, like then that's on them. Like you can sue them. But someone's going to go to the location. They can make it a complete different vision. So like what does it matter? It's not like you're the only person with that location. Like another photographer you don't know is going to go there and shoot.
Yeah, like,
you know?
And when it comes to that, like I'm very open with that. Like if people like ask me, because I get a lot, like sometimes people ask me what camera I use, like how do I do this, like oh, what do you have tips for this and stuff, like what lens you think I should use for this, locations, and like can I tag along with it? I'm just like, yeah, like I'm open to it. Like I'm not like right now, like I don't want to concentrate like just teaching and stuff. Like I want to do my own thing, but like if you're willing to tag along, like I don't mind. Like I don't mind having people come by and get their own content or get their own content. You know, like when I did some of the culture shoots, it's just and that's a continuing project. So when one of the culture shoots, I always invite people. I'm just like, you want to come? You could take photos or something and stuff. Because
the more people, like that's how I look at it. Like for the workshops, like to an extent, but the more people I can have there, the better, because that's more people learning, more people networking, more people getting content for themselves, and you know, everyone's helping everyone there.
It just completely works out, and that's kind of like what I want to go at. That if you're trying to do it by yourself, like trying to be very secretive, then no one's really gonna want to work with you. Because it's just like they know that you're just very private about it, and it's cool. Maybe it works for you.
There's an extent. Like there's obviously some things like that are okay to be like private about, but there's people that do it for the wrong reasons. Like they just don't want anyone to like have their style or their locations or whatever. Which
and
I don't know. I don't understand that.
So when it comes to like your kind of arc, because since you can't just say you're modeling right now, you can't just say you do one thing. What exactly do you want to portray then? Like overall, like how do you?
That's something like I've been trying to figure out, honestly, because I do like if I like introduce myself or people say like, what do you do? Like I'm like, oh, I model and I'm a creative director. That's like that's your go-to for now. Just because those are like what I would consider like my two like main careers, and that's like what I love doing the most, you know?
Okay.
But overall, like it depends on the type of people. Like if you go, like if random people, like when I was like waitressing and stuff, like, oh, what are you? Like if I was like, oh, I'm like a creative or I'm an artist, they'd be like, oh, so you paint? Like you draw?
That's like the first thing people go to, like you paint, like
like no, I can't even draw stick figures, but that's what like how I would consider myself and how I would talk to like other creatives is just like I'm an overall creative. Like not that I can do everything, obviously not, but like I'm not just this one thing.
Have you noticed like a consistent message throughout your work though?
Like something I'm trying to portray?
Or that you naturally portrayed, like that you noticed? Because I know it's kind of hard to figure out like what you want to do, and you just kind of do. Like I seen you like just kind of just work.
Yeah.
And I'm like the same way. Like I just try to work, and looking back, like I kind of figured out that like I guess like the what I'm trying to portray is just it's just an expression for me, and that's the only way I was able to actually express myself, because I'm not very like talkative about like
how you feel, or
I mean like I love hearing it. When it comes to talking about it, like I'm pretty stable minded, so like I don't really have the need to.
Yeah.
But like throughout my work, like I just kind of I've seen like when I started photography, I have like a cinematic kind of eye. Like I want to make things look kind of dramatic and stuff, and that kind of led me into like filmmaking and like starting now and stuff. So for you, what was your portrayal that you think?
I think it's kind of on the same like boat as you, and I feel like that's a thing with a lot of like creatives. It was just a way for me, and like why I like doing what I do is just I can express myself in any way. You know, like if you look at my Instagram, it's not just one type of modeling. You know,
yeah, you're very diverse.
Try to make myself as diverse as possible, and what I like is I can't always like find the way to express myself like in words. I'm not the type of person. I have no problem like talking about my feelings or anything if I have to, but I just found it so much easier to be able to like put it into a vision and make that come to life. Like a couple months ago, I was like really going through some like hard things, and I remember I did a shoot like right into the new year, and like I was literally just crying. Like that was the shoot. Like like
I remember that actually.
Yeah,
when you posted that.
Like till this day, like that is one of my favorite shoots, because it was people were asking like, was this pose? Like, how did you make yourself look like you were crying? Like, it's gotten to the point where I'm so like connected to what I do, you know, like I'm so connected to what I'm doing that I can express those emotions. Like it's nothing at this point. So for me, like this like constant thing that I've been trying to like promote, and then that I use through everything I do, is just like expressing yourself and your emotions, and again like just being content
yourself.
And confident with yourself and being yourself, because I hate that like I look at people sometimes that I've like met in person and they're nothing like what they portray themselves as on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you know, like I don't hold that like people like I knew in high school or stuff, like that's different because people change after high school. Like I've definitely changed since high school.
You're barely out.
Yeah, like literally like
you barely got out of high school.
I've definitely like it's like an eye opener. It's just an eye opener, but you know, I wanted to be just like as real and like as much of myself as I could.
What is your goal right now? Like, what is your overall goal? Have they changed within the last year?
I honestly, I don't remember exactly what I said at the last podcast, but right now, like for the next few years, like my main goal is to focus on modeling. Like I really want to like get published. I want to work with like a major makeup company and, you know, be like a cover girl for their brand. Like I have a lot of goals for myself as a model, but in the long run, like my ultimate goal, once I start getting ugly and old and like I can't model anymore, is like I said, I want to open like my own agency or just be a manager, whether it's for models or honestly, like I would love to get into managing like music artists, because initially, like before I dropped out, that's what I was going to school for.
For like, you were going to school for music.
Business. So like my end goal, like the reason I'm trying, like doing all these things now is because everything's going to lead into like being able to run like a sufficient agency, like having all the components to what you need to have one. So that's kind of like my end goal with this. But for the next few years, my like main focus is like on modeling and trying to succeed as far as I can in that.
And how do you plan on doing that? Just continuing what you're doing? Or?
Continuing, like keeping myself, like this whole month I'm working on just revamping my entire portfolio. So just for the summer, like I have a new portfolio ready. So the way I want to reach those goals is by making sure I'm keeping updated with myself and, you know, making sure that my portfolio and my comp cards and my resume are always up to date and always expressing, you know, me to the best of, you're not in the camera at all, expressing myself. I just lost my train of thought.
Expressing yourself through like a new portfolio.
Yeah. So like always making sure that all of my stuff is up to date and expresses me the best. Just continuing to submit to agencies and going to open calls and going to castings and just being as on my toes as possible, making as many connections as possible, because that's all it takes. Like, I've gotten pretty much every opportunity I've gotten has been by myself, you know, like freelancing.
You do work a lot when it comes to that. Like you reach out and actually network.
Yeah, because that's the whole, especially if you're not signed to an agency and they're not doing the work for you, you're your own boss. Like, I'm my own agent at the end of the day. Like, I have to make sure that I have those connections and I know those people so I can, you know, make those connections and get myself booked and find myself jobs and castings and all of that.
And this is you do this full time, right?
Yeah. I quit my job in October.
Nice.
Yeah. I was working at a restaurant. I was just waitressing. And then like, not like the reason I knew like my time was coming for me to just like leave was because I liked the job. Like, it wasn't a bad job at all. Like, my bosses were cool. The people I worked with were cool. But I found myself dreading going there every day. And I would just sit for those like 5-6 hours. And I was just telling myself like, I could be home doing this, or like I could have been on a shoot, or I could have been finishing this. So it was like
it started to interrupt a lot.
Yeah, it started to interrupt. And like the thing was, because initially I was working at Ulta. I was working like 35 hours a week, and then I was also waitressing. So I had like no time for modeling. That's when we spoke at first. I was I was still at Ulta, and then I was waitressing. So it was like super stressful and so hard to like maintain everything. So then I quit Ulta. I was like, you know what? Like, first off, I hated retail. Like,
yo, retail sucks.
Retail was so bad.
Anyone that works at retail, you guys know, like, retail is not fun at all.
My gosh, like working in food, the customers are definitely annoying.
Food's different. I think food's a lot worse because
it's
people like
it's different levels, and like it's hard to explain. I feel like unless you've worked both and like experienced both, but like retail was just like a whole other world for me. Like, I saw people walk in there and I was like, there's no way. People tried to like return stuff. This girl tried to return this makeup palette one time, and she was like, oh, I don't have the receipt. Like, I don't know where I got it, blah, blah, blah. I turned it over. There was a Marshall sticker on the back of
it. Yo, that's crazy. People try that though. People really try to do that.
Our people would like empty products out and put water in it and be like, I don't like this. Like, can I return it? But people in food are bad. I've experienced some.
That's retail for you.
Some nuts when I worked with food.
All right, so for you, because you mentioned you get into what was that?
That was my water bottle.
Oh,
my jug of
water. Like, damn, that was crazy. Okay, so you made another Instagram too. Yeah. Besides the one you mainly have.
Yeah.
It's called Sista Creates, right?
Yeah.
Okay, explain that. Like, what inspired you to do that?
So I didn't want to. I just thought if I started posting any of the work I did, like for creative directing, photography, producing videos, directing videos, anything I was doing that wasn't me modeling, I was like kind of like scared that if I put that stuff on my modeling page, like my main page, that people would start to be like, oh, like she's, you know, like she's not just a model. And I feel like when people see that you're not just focusing on like one thing, or that you're trying to like be all over the place, that like I've just seen it, and just from like hearing things from people that I've talked to, like they'll like book you less, and like it kind of, not that you lose your value, but
they don't know what to hire you for.
Yeah, they don't know like exactly what to hire you for. So I wanted to make sure, and I just didn't want at the end of the day like my face and then like a bunch of people's faces and then like I didn't want everything like thrown all over one page. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to just differentiate these two things. So I kept my main page for just my modeling and like anything that I'm in visually. And of course I have like my highlights where I post like all my other stuff. But I wanted the other page to make sure that people can know the difference between like Briana Sista, the model, and then like Briana Sista.
The whole other side for you.
Yeah, the whole other side. And not that they're a different person, but you know.
It's different.
It's different. Yeah, it's different like focuses.
So Briana Sista is your modeling page.
Yeah,
that's
just my and I don't even like, yes, it's my modeling page, but
personal in a way.
It's me, you know. That's why I try not to make everything, while the majority of it is like my professional photos, because you know, if brands come across my page or scouts, that's what they want to see. But I try to make it as much of me as possible by
just
either writing like just like captions, like I'm talking to the people. Like that's why I'm always on live. Like I love interacting with people and like learning about them and like them being able to learn more about me. And
so you explained before that there's a difference between an IG model and an actual model.
Yeah.
So people don't realize that. In your perspective, what's the difference between those two people?
At the end of the day, like, kudos to you for what you're doing. Like, if you're getting your money, that's all that matters. The reason it like bothers me, and I know it affects other models, is just because it's more of like the people hiring, like the producers, directors, photographers, they kind of can't differentiate. Like the people that...
Yeah, I mean, you could tell. Like,
that are like serious about it, and then the girls that are doing it for Instagram, which, like I said, it's completely fine, but it kind of...
It's not the same field.
It's like, why am I going to pay Briana, $300 for this video when like some girl is like willing to do it for free?
Yeah.
So it's like, I just don't like that it kind of takes away from my worth at the end of the day. Like, people just think like, oh, like you're just, like there's a million of you on Instagram, but it's like not that, like a lot of these girls don't have like portfolios and comp cards and, actual resumes. Like their entire Instagram is like collabs or like influence stuff, like promoting stuff, which is cool, but
it's not modeling.
It's not modeling. And there's like a difference between that, and people like are forgetting that. Like people don't realize that there's a line between, people who model and go out, and their entire career, majority of being a model is just submitting to castings and going to castings, and like maybe out of 50 you'll get like 1 or 2.
Yeah, and you're right though. Like a lot of, like, especially if I'm trying to like collab with somebody when it comes to like a shoot for like Creators Block or something, like I can tell like who is just like Instagramming and stuff, and who is actually like serious about their work.
Yeah.
And there's a difference.
Shows.
There is a difference.
Because even like working, like I said, behind the camera, I come across these girls, and like whether the director's hired like these Instagram models or it's like a shoot that they hired me for to do, you can see the difference in the people who are serious and like know about modeling and know about posing and know about like expression versus just
someone who's posting just
like
to post.
like a pretty girl that's posting to post, which again, it's fine, but people need to learn the difference between someone who's an actual model and then someone
because modeling is an art. Like it is like really.
Yeah, it takes people think it's just you're onto a set and you're taking pictures. Like like collabs and like what you see on Instagram, like that's what it is. But when you're actually modeling, you go to set at 6 a.m. and you're getting your hair and you're getting your makeup done,
it's
and you're
work.
running in and out of outfits all day, and you're standing in these uncomfortable poses, and like you have to be able to actually express things that they want you to express, and you need to know the difference between like posing and expressing for commercial work or for editorial work or for print work. Like you need to know the difference between all these things, and like people don't even know that nowadays because people make it seem like, oh, you have like a cool Instagram with cool pictures, like you're a model, but it doesn't work like that. Like
you've gotten pretty far with your modeling. In your way, I guess, what would define being successful? Like,
I think that's a personal preference. Like everyone else, some people wouldn't feel successful until they're like on Vogue or walking for like Dolce & Gabbana or something. But
do you feel like you're successful?
I think for myself, I've been successful. I don't think I'm at my peak yet. I think I have so much more that I need to succeed. But seeing like just from the last time we talked till now, like all the opportunities that I've had and like all the doors that opened for me, it's successful to me, especially doing it by myself, kind of like not being signed.
No, you're not like under like an agency. This is all you. Like this is literally your work being shown. Like you're putting the effort to reach out to people. You're putting the effort to like do everything, and that shows because it's good because now you don't have to have somebody on
because that's one thing, and I try to push to the girls like when I do like events and stuff is, you need to learn the business and you need to learn how it works before you go and trust somebody else to do it for you, because you don't know what they're putting in those contracts. If you just start modeling and you get signed, you don't know like the correct like percentages people should be taking and like what an agent really should be doing for you, what management should be doing for you, like the difference between having like a mother agency and just an agency. And there's all these things, and people, especially in this industry, people are just money hungry. Like they will do anything for money. And, people need to learn this for themselves before trusting somebody else, so they can be able to say like, you're taking too much money from me, or, that's not right, or you're scamming me, or like that shouldn't be in there, stuff like that. So
It's
now I'm
super
definitely
important for people to read their contracts, especially.
so important. And I remember even Mick Jagger said in an interview that like they had their lawyers, obviously, like the lawyer would read over the contract, but he always sat and read through every single contract he signed. So he knew for himself what he was signing off on.
Not just like the lawyer and stuff.
You don't know the lawyer, you're famous, you're worth millions and millions of dollars. Like they could be after you too, you know?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's 100%. That's so scary though, because like people get trapped into like this cycle.
Yeah.
I know ASAP mentioned that Frank Ocean, like he schemed not schemed, but he got like out of Jeff Jam like $12 million of like he finessed him for like $12 million because he got out of a contract because they like kind of trapped him in it, and he ended up finding a way to get out of it and earn a bunch of money from
especially like the music industry more, like those contracts with different like labels and publishing companies, like you have to be so careful for what they tie you in for.
Well, so I want to talk about where do you kind of see yourself going again? Like where, like in the next 5 years, in the short term, and then 10 years. Like you said, you still want to continue doing events. You still want to continue doing all these creative inputs.
Yeah. So I really like, honestly, I wasn't sure what the input was going to be with the workshops. So I definitely want to continue like making them like in every like 6 to 8 week thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have like a lot of other stuff that like I'm not going to speak about until it's like actually out in existence, you know, but just like other events that I want to start putting together. But for myself as a model, I definitely want to get signed as a commercial model to an agency. Like that's one of my main goals. And since I've had the past few years to learn the business for myself, I feel like I am ready to
go out and
be able to like trust somebody, because then I know, like I said, whether or not like
you know the ins and outs when it comes to that.
So I definitely have a lot of goals. Like I said, like I really like my main goal is to be like a cover girl from some like for a makeup brand. I would love to get published in a magazine out of not me sending my photos in to get published, rather them coming to me to publish them, or like for them requesting to, you know, show my photos.
That's cool. That's like a difference, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it is a difference.
Like it's great like having my face in like different magazines and like being able to be in a magazine with photographers that are in Germany or that are in Australia or in Canada, and then models that are all over the world too, which is cool. But, you know, there's that step when like the magazine's like, we want to use these pictures, or like we want you to like shoot this for us or something, you know, like we want your face to be for this concept in the magazine. So that and brand work, like I like doing, I shot with Against All Odds for like
oh yeah, that was so cool. And like you did it with like Lou, right?
Yeah, so they reached out to me on Instagram, and I thought it was like, I was like, this is fake, like this is a fake account. They weren't verified, and they had like no followers, there was nothing on the page. I was like, this has to be fake. Like why would a store in the mall like reach out to me through Instagram? And I was like, all right, you know what, I'm just gonna trust it. Like I got as much information out as I could. Like
the basics, what you ask.
So I ended up shooting for them for like 2 drops, and then they were like, oh, we need a male model. So I was like, my boyfriend's a male model. So then we did like 2 or 3 drops for them, and that was really cool. But they're long days. Like I said, like people think, oh, like it's so cool, like whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I got there at 7 a.m. and till 5 at night, 6 at night, it's put this outfit on, walk, stand straight, right, back, left.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Walk out, change this outfit. We went through like, in a day, we'd probably do like 150 outfits, like 200
outfits. Oh, wait. Yeah. I didn't realize it was that much.
It's
oh, my God.
So much clothes. And like, by the end of the day, I'm just like, my makeup's getting all messed up from like taking like shirts on and off. Like my hair starts to frizz up as like the time goes on. But I really like doing like e-commerce and brand work. So I
oh my God, that's a long ass day though.
Such a long day. And the fact that it's just like, it's like literally an assembly line. It was like, pick up your clothes, step on the backdrop,
take it
drop
off.
Drop the clothes off here, go in the dressing room, grab this clothes, like put this on.
I mean, at least it was organized though. Some
it
people
was organized.
Like,
That's one thing I love. It's just like if things are organized, it's fine. I just don't like when things are all over the place and like no one knows what's going on or where people should be or like any of that. It's not that hard to be organized. Like but I just have like I just continue to be published, like just getting signed.
What do you think is like your strongest quality, like as a person?
As a person,
that's helped you out so much in your career.
I think just my passion, and that's been like a thing that's gotten me through a lot of stuff. It's just like I'm just a very like strong and passionate person. So even when I do feel discouraged or when I like want to stop, because there's like you'll go through periods of time, especially when you're an entrepreneur, like where you're making like thousands of dollars one week, and then like for 1 week no one's hitting you up, and it's like I'm not making any money this week. And then that's it's like
people
always
don't realize that, like when it comes
it's like,
to like
it's scary. And it's like I think the hardest like adjustment was like being able to tell myself like it's gonna happen. Like you're gonna have weeks where you make a lot of money, and then you're gonna have weeks when you make no money and no one's hitting you up for jobs. So that's something that I really had to learn, because I feel like people get discouraged, and I still get discouraged sometimes. Like the week I was like recovering from my surgery, the week after that, no one was hitting me up, and I was like, oh my gosh, like
gotta get out there again.
Yeah, like I took 1 week off because I got surgery, and now like no one wants to work with me. Yeah. But then I was like, you know what? Like I'm getting in my head.
How did you get back into the flow of that? Like what did you start doing?
Just getting back on Instagram and promoting myself as much as I can, and just making sure I'm active and liking people's pictures, and just keeping up with all my emails and text messages, and making sure I'm searching like on like I'm part of like Backstage, so like just making sure I'm looking at auditions and castings, and making sure that I'm keeping up to date with everything. And then just reaching out to people, just having to get back in the flow of things, because when you're an entrepreneur, like you're literally working 24/7. So having that week off was literally like the most like
it's stressful. Actually.
Yeah, it was like stressful having a week off. I'm like, I'm doing nothing. Like
it's very stressful.
Yeah.
I had my laptop, like it was like I said, remember my laptop wasn't working for about a week.
Yeah.
And every single day I was trying to fix it with like Apple. I don't know why it was giving me so much trouble, but they ended up replacing like the whole internal parts. But that whole week I was just like, I can't edit, and I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, I can't do shit. And I was like so stressed out, because I'm just like,
it's like your money's there.
I'm I'm trying to work.
Yeah.
Even just like leisure, like that's my leisure, like editing my own personal content. Like I'm just trying to do that. I'm like,
yeah,
I can't do shit. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, but it's very easy, especially with Instagram, to be super relevant one week and then be irrelevant next week, especially with like the algorithm and the way things go. I went like a week without posting, and
it dropped you.
It like your traffic goes to like crap. So like even right now I'm in the process of trying to like build that back up. But it's also important, like I do have my connect, like if Instagram were to shut down, I'd still be able to like
do work and stuff.
Still model. So that's important, but Instagram is like such a helpful tool that like I need that platform to still, it's just helpful. Like it's an extra source of income. It's an extra source of people. It's a whole other audience that you're reaching.
Do you have like daily routines that you do? Like as far as what do you do to prepare? And like how's your day look like, especially being like an entrepreneur?
Usually like very early mornings. I find myself waking up like super early.
What's early?
Like 6:30.
Oh yeah?
7.
Consistently?
Yeah, for the most part.
What time do you sleep?
1 or 2.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still 5 hours.
So like it's not the best, but I try to like even it out. Like when I have like days off, I'll sleep until like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I try to go to bed as early as I can, but you know, if I don't get home from a shoot till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I still have to like do my schedule, and then I still have to answer like DMs. So I'm still up to like 1:30, and then I'm all wired from like being on my phone and my computer. So I'm like sitting in bed. I'm like I can't sleep. I'm just reading. I'm like, all right, if I go to bed in 20 minutes, I'll sleep for 4 hours. Like I just need to fall asleep in 20 minutes. But
I have the app, and like, you know, the iPhone app tells you like it's like, oh, it's bedtime, like you'll get 7 hours of sleep this time, and it's like 5 hours later I'm just like, oh shit.
Like now I can only sleep for 2 hours.
Oh man, it sucks. The thing is, like, I actually don't like sleeping though. Like I've never found it. People like sleeping, you know, that's like a thing, but I actually don't like sleeping. It bothers me. I'm like editing sometimes, and like I get mad because I'm falling asleep on my chair. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Like, wake up, Elvis.
Yeah, like I don't know why. I mean, that's just me, I guess. But
no, I feel like a lot of people feel that way. Especially, like I said, you kind of, not that you have to work 24/7 when you're an entrepreneur, but like you kind of have to. Like you don't have a set. It's not just like, all right, I'm working from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock or 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
How long have you been modeling again? Like how long have you? What would you say? What was your starting point?
I was like 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
What's been like the most impactful like moment in those 4 years, especially where people are starting to model? Like, what would be a checkpoint for them that they're just like, oh shit, like I can do this or something?
I think there's that's a good question. I would say once, like, what kind of pushed me to be like, all right, like I can do this. Like people, people like my face or whatever. People like me as a model was when I stopped reaching out to people, and like I noticed people were just reaching out to me, or like, hey, this person like recommended me to you. Like I'd love to shoot, or hey, like I saw you shot with this person. Like I'd love to book you for this, or blah blah blah. So once people started coming to me, I was like, oh, this is like this kind of works. Like people like actually, yeah. And then
when did that start? Like how far did you model into?
I want to say that was like the first 2 years was roughly just like going to classes and workshops and just like doing headshots and test shoots. That was like what the first 2 years really was. And then I want to say like on to the third year, it was like August of 2017. That's when I booked the J Balvin video. And
that's so cool.
That's something I found on my own.
Yeah.
So
oh really?
Yeah.
That's so cool. I remember when I saw that, I was like, no way, that's so awesome.
That was like a major turning point for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like working with a huge Latin director, and then I was working with these 4 huge Latin artists. And
explain that day. I remember you said it was like brutal.
It was such a, oh my gosh. I woke up at like 6 a.m. I had to take the bus at like 8:30. I got to the hotel in Manhattan at, I want to say like 10 o'clock. We didn't start filming until like 2:30. They filmed my scene. I was done within like an hour and a half. So from like 4 o'clock till 11 o'clock at night, I was just sitting on the set, like waiting for them to finish the other 8 models' shots.
Oh, yeah, that's why.
You can't go. Like you have to sit there because I was needed for the shots, like after their shots for the second location. So it was just like a long day. But it was cool because they had vegan food, like a whole vegan buffet, which like they usually don't have. They usually have like pretzels. Like that's like the only vegan option on sets. So that was really cool. I met casting directors through there. I was just using those 6 hours I was on set to talk to every person that I could. And that's a thing I try to stress to people, because sometimes I'm on sets and I just see the models like in the corner on their phone the whole time. It's like, you have a room here full of 1 million different people. Like, go talk to them.
And you don't know who they know.
You don't know. Like, even if it's the makeup artist, like I've gotten jobs before from staying connected with makeup artists. Like they're like, oh, I'm on this set and they're actually looking for a model. Like, can you come? So you got to talk to everyone there, because you don't know. And not even the way like you're using the people, but
no, it's just like, what if you can help out too?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's very mutual.
Absolutely.
Networking is very important when it comes to that. But yeah, I guess people don't realize that they want to like have the clout and just.
Yeah, but you want to be that person on set too that is, joyful and like nice and that people like talking to. Like, you don't want to just be the quiet person that's just sitting there and they're like, should I talk to her? Like, is she like okay? Is she in a bad mood?
Is she okay?
Yeah. So it's like, that's such an important thing, especially with like castings. When I walk into castings, like obviously you don't need to like over exaggerate it, but you want to be like, hi, like how was your day? Like, how's everyone doing? Like, you want to be like the breath of fresh air, especially because a lot of like,
because it can be stressful, like especially on these sets.
There's a lot of like snobby girls and stuff that like walk in thinking they're too good or get attitude if they don't get the casting. So it's like, you want to be that like breath of fresh air, and not like it being the only reason I've gotten booked, but like I've gotten jobs just based off of like
just personality.
Yeah, just personality. Because if you're if you're bright and you have like a good aura, like people are gonna want to be around you and people are gonna want to work with you.
Like especially when I shoot like models or something, like I'm not gonna shoot you again if like I felt they kind of like awkward, or I felt they kind of like just hard. Yeah, hard for me to work with. Like I'm not. It's just not gonna happen. Like I'll do it professionally, but it's I'm not gonna hit you up, be like, yo, like that's not the first person I'm gonna go to.
Yeah, definitely.
When did you become a vegan? Like when did you officially become?
It was like something that like slowly happened over time. Sophomore year of high school in bio class, my teacher made us watch Food Inc. And it was disgusting. It was Food Inc. It was basically like, it wasn't even like bad compared to like Earthlings and like Cowspiracy and like all these other documentaries. Yeah. It was like the more mild one, I guess. But I just saw it and I was like, this is like disgusting. Like I loved animals and I was like, you know, if I love these things so much, like why am I letting this happen to them?
Yeah.
So I remember that night, me and like a couple of my friends went to like the diner and my friend got chicken wings and I remember I bit into one and it was like, you know when it's like kind of purple a little bit, like the meat's like a little weird. I bit into it and I was like, and I was like, I'm never eating this stuff again. So
and it just happened like that, like overnight. You just like, turned overnight. That's
I didn't turn vegan, so I just cut out meat. I was still eating fish and dairy. That went on for a few months, and then I cut out fish, and then I was just eating dairy, and then I was overloading on dairy because I wasn't eating fish or meat, and so my stomach was like going crazy. Like dairy's just like
dairy's not good for you.
Dairy's not good for you. So like cutting out the meat to just like I was going from eating like chicken quesadillas to cheese quesadillas.
Yeah, yeah.
Or like grilled cheese, or it was just carbs, like bad carbs and dairy. So I was like, this isn't good. So my stomach started to act up. So I was vegetarian from like sophomore year till junior year. And then I remember like a year of me being vegetarian, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go vegan. Like there's no point in me still eating dairy at this point. Like it's not doing any better for me. So I was just like, I'm gonna do it. And actually the 14th of March makes like 5 years.
Wow, that's 5 years already? Yeah. Holy shit.
And it went quick, like super quick.
See, you're an actual like true vegan because like you don't preach it like that. Like I didn't know you were like a vegan until like, you know, we tried to get food.
I used to, in high school, people used to like hate me because I was like, my Twitter was like crazy vegan. Like
yeah. But it's because you just started, so it was like a passion.
Yeah, like when I first started, I was like, fuck you if you eat animals.
But it's been 5 years and like I haven't seen you really post. Like you post like some. Like, I don't know if you do, but like I haven't noticed it.
I post once in a while. Like
But you're not like getting mad at people.
Yeah, like I don't get. I'm a lot more understanding now. I realize like, you know, not everyone wants to, or if you're picky, like if you're gonna go vegan and then not eat, don't go vegan. Like you don't get yourself. Though, like don't get yourself malnourished.
Yeah.
Just to like follow some trend, you know. So I was just like, you know what, like it's not for everyone. Like I'm not gonna judge you. Like people were just like, oh, like I'm like, is it okay if I eat meat? Like I don't mind, you know. It's not my money paying for it, and I'm not eating it.
Yeah.
So I don't care. But I don't like what's always bothered me is just like the ignorant, stubborn people that like deny like the science behind it and like the actual facts.
Because you can get your like full nutrition like as a vegan. Like it's not impossible.
5 years later and I'm here. Like,
it's not like impossible, but
you just have to eat.
I do
properly.
I do feel like it's not for everybody. So it's like how you said, especially with like a picky eater. Like I myself, like I have the same. I've had the same like diet,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the past 20 years. Like, yeah, like my friend, all she eats is first off she eats like one meal a day. Like, she just doesn't have a big appetite.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, she's super picky. So I was like, you're only eating one meal a day. That's not sufficient enough if you went vegan. Like, you need to be eating a lot of food. So I was like, there's no point in you even, like, trying to, like, I mean, you could try it, but I don't want you getting sick, you know? But, yeah, I don't know. I like it. Like, I feel good on it.
It's not difficult anymore though. I think before you said it was kind of difficult to find. It was
definitely difficult at first, and then living with like my parents and stuff, they were always trying to like
push
God made fish for a reason. Like you're supposed to like eat a little, or you know, having a little cheese once a week won't kill you.
But even like buying it though, because like vegan restaurants, it like how you said, it's becoming a trend.
Yeah, so a lot of places like I don't find it a problem anymore. I've learned how to like work around things or how to like make things vegan, and you know, if it comes down to like, thank God, like Lou being vegan is like super helpful. And my best friends, the two friends that I have, like literally they're like helpful with it. Like they'll never like, they're always like, all right, like where do not that like where do you want to go, but like, oh, like, you know, there's nothing here for Brie, like let's go somewhere else. So like it's helpful.
That is very thoughtful.
Having, you know, friends that are like supportive of it. And then my parents were never against it. They just like didn't really understand it. They're always like,
I mean, they're traditional.
Yeah,
it's just, it's hard
they grew up with their grandpa in the basement killing animals, making like curing meat in the basement.
They grew up like hunting their own animals.
Yeah,
you know?
Like both of like all my grandparents, like they're Italy, so like they grew up on farms. They killed the animals. They cured the meat in the basement. Like that's just something that was like a tradition for them. So you can't like
My thing is like when people are vegans and they're against society because
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. There's
Like, when
no
people
there's
are
no
like-
civilization that's ever
Yeah.
survived because they have a bunch of meat and they
Yeah.
chose to be vegan. Like that's not a thing. Like wherever you live, you adapt to that situation.
Exactly.
So it's like the only reason you're able to become like a full vegan like by choice anywhere you live is because there's society.
a supermarket with all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stuff there that I need. Like, that's really simple. So if you got stranded on an island, like, you wouldn't eat meat.
It's just like
Obviously,
no,
like, if I'm stranded on an island and there's nothing there but
there's a bunch of fish. Like, yeah.
obviously I'm gonna eat it. Like, if I have to survive, I have to survive. That's just one thing that I've like said a lot is just people are like, oh, the cavemen ate meat though. Like, that's because they had no choice.
Yeah, there's no other
there was a
choice.
buffalo
Like,
running
now-
across
now
the
there's a
field.
choice, so,
yeah, now
like-
it's you have enough. You can go to a supermarket and there's everything there that you possibly need. So that's what I'm just saying. I just don't like when people are like stubborn about
Yeah,
veganism.
yeah.
That's like, and that's with anything. I don't like when people are stubborn about anything. You know?
Just choosing to be ignorant. That's
Yeah.
like that's the thing. But all right, so let's talk about. Okay, so you're into a lot of fields, and how do you pick one? How do you concentrate on one item? Because my problem is that I have a problem that like
You don't know where to like put your focus, kind of.
yeah, like it's like I'm into photo, I'm into like a video, and then like I want to do something else, and I'm just like I don't know what to pick.
So something I started doing is kind of scheduling a month in advance as much as I can.
Oh my god.
So like like a few weeks ago, I did my schedule for April as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, things come up last minute, which is fine. But
you
I try
you
to
take into account
set
with that.
as much as I can in stone, just so I know like these are my open days, these are my available days. Like these are the days I can like maybe go to the city and like shoot like some lifestyle stuff or take pictures of models there and do like my behind the camera stuff.
How has that like worked out? Like have you been pretty like on point with it?
It's been pretty good. It's something that I tried to implement like starting in the new year. I was doing more like scheduling the month ahead of time. If things come up, obviously that's completely fine. But when you're doing so many different things, like when I know I have to handle my modeling stuff, I have to handle like my set designing and my creative directing, and then I have to handle like all the business stuff of like AWOL. I learned kind of how to separate my life based on that.
To kind of organize it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like at night when I'm in bed, like that's when I'll like respond to emails or handle like any numbers or stuff that I have to do for like AWOL. And then I've also learned to multitask. Like if I'm going to a shoot, I'm not just gonna go to the shoot. Like if I'm on the train, I'm gonna have my laptop there and I'm gonna be editing. Or, you know, if you're sitting around on a set, you know, there's other models, I'll bring my laptop, I'll bring my notebook, and I try to get as much done as I can.
What do you do for fun actually? Like when you're not working? Like what's your getaway?
My getaway is, I would say music, because
Oh, yeah?
it's the one thing that like I don't profit off of, so it's not something that's like a stressor for me. Like as much as I love modeling and like creative directing, at the end of the day, it's like this is my job. Like I need to make sure like I'm on it, you know?
Yeah, there's a difference between like a hobby and a job.
Yeah.
So
like for me, like I played the piano since I think my mom put me in lessons when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and it's just something I've always done. And I took the focus away from it for like a long time, and it was honestly just like a recent thing, like the past few months, that I started picking up on it again. And I realized it's just helped me like calm down a lot and like be a little more in touch with like my emotions and everything. Especially like with this, it's like super overwhelming. You're doing so many things, you're meeting so many people, like there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of like it's just it's a very
Yeah.
busy and hectic lifestyle, you know? So for me it's definitely music is like a good release. And then things like I just like spending time with like my best friend, just like relaxing and going to the gym. I finally am like cleared to go to the gym again after my surgery. So
it's in your
like,
schedule?
yeah. So yeah, just going to the gym and music, just reading I don't like reading like any type of book. I like reading things about like
I don't think I've ever finished a book.
I've like in high school
I finished The Outsiders.
The Outsiders was a good book. The Outsiders was a
finished
good
that.
book. 1984. Did you read that?
I read a good chunk of it.
That was a good book.
It was a good book.
But then everything else, like I had to read like Frankenstein. That I gave up through like halfway through the book.
How do you okay, so you like how you're in different industries. What do you do to kind of like study up on that, or what's your process when it comes to trying to improve on that?
So for modeling, I watch like a lot of runway shows, and I just like, even though runway is not my focus, you still learn like about posture and just how things need to go. So I watch runway shows. I watch a lot of like reruns of America's Next Top Model, like stuff from when I was like too young to like remember watching it.
When you're watching it, do you like study it, or you're just watching it because you like it? And
no,
it happens
I like study it. Like I listen to the stuff like Tyra tells the models, and I just like kind of put myself in that position. Like one thing that sticks out to me so much is like the smiles. That's like Tyra's thing that she says, like smiling with your eyes. So like,
wow.
Like, yeah. So like when you're
How do you smile with your eyes?
So like basically like if my face is like this and then I smile, your eyes brighten up.
Oh.
So it's basically like, you smile, so your eyes get that bright, you know, like
what?
You look, and then you just drop your smile.
Yeah.
So that, and then I remember they were doing like some shoot, and they were holding like a baby tiger or something, and the girl's hand was like this on the tiger, and the picture was shot from like kind of where the camera would be. And I remember Tyra saying like, your hand is too big in the picture. Like your hand is the main focus of the picture. And I was like, that's so like anything that's towards the camera is gonna come out the biggest. So now like I know like, all right, hands can't be towards the camera. Like your elbow can't be straight towards the camera. If my shoulder's straight towards the camera, it's gonna look really wide.
Yeah, show your butt and stuff.
Yeah.
Like.
But no, I studied that.
Like.
As far as like creative directing,
that's interesting though.
YouTube's so helpful. Like I like watching YouTube videos and just like getting inspired. Or there's like these videos Lou put me onto. They're like 4-minute something. I don't know the name of the YouTube. And they just discuss like dramatic lighting in 4 minutes or glamour lighting in 4 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I just like watching a lot of tutorials on YouTube.
Is that what he's been doing for a while?
Yeah, like that's just like. But he's on YouTube all the time, just like watching videos. He's like, look at this cool guy I found. Or like
every time I see him, like he has like this new lighting tech. He's like, yo, I just learned off of YouTube. I'm just like, what the fuck? I was like, yo, what do you watch?
I'm gonna send you it. I'm gonna ask, like, have the name of it for you. But
what about other things besides modeling? How do you study up on that? I guess everything's still kind of like new in a way, because modeling you have some experience with, like a good chunk of experience.
A lot of things too is like, working with like AD and Will Drain, like these like older heads that have been in the industry longer.
Yeah, they do.
You learn a lot
of their videos come out so good.
Yeah, like you just learn a lot from being on set with them. Like the good thing about working with people that are at the, like while he's like my boss for the day, like we're still friends. So it's nice being in there and he's telling me like why he's doing what he's doing, or down to like, oh, like when you're working with artists, like this is what needs to be in the contract, and like just having mentors and people kind of guiding you that have been in the industry for so long and can help you out with it. Especially with here, like you need mentors, like you need people to help you out.
It's so what do you feel about that? You feel like you do need a mentor when it comes to things?
Not that it's necessary, but I think it's like super helpful.
Yeah. Because
especially if it's someone you know you can like trust, and that you kind of look up to what they do in their work. It's just always like helpful to have someone there like teaching you stuff. So you don't have to be on YouTube. Like it's nice to have like that hands-on, like kind of like physical relationship with someone where they can be teaching you these things and like showing you what to do.
That's interesting. Yeah, because like I feel like for when it comes to me, like I've always like had the idea like you feel like you need a mentor, but then I've realized that at least it doesn't. Every time I try to do that, like I get frustrated. Because I'm just like I can't find somebody like I could actually go for. Yeah, like I might learn off of them and stuff, but it's kind of I literally do so much better like on my own, which I don't know if it's a good thing, but I guess
I don't think it's not a bad thing. I notice I work well when I'm by myself, especially when it comes to like executing visions. I just like putting it together. That's like one thing I'm like learning to do is like shooting myself now. Just because there's so many times I have these concepts, and like a big part of my concepts, which I think kind of like differentiates like me a little bit from other models, is that I know about lighting and stuff.
No, so you do. Your studio shots come out really good, actually.
When I do, like when I have concepts in mind, I know the lighting I want too. So sometimes I go to a photographer, like I'll explain the concept, and then we do the shoot, and it doesn't really come out like how I imagined it, just because
they don't have your.
It's not. I know exactly what I want in my head. Like I see exactly what I want. So I definitely understand that. Like I execute things way better when I'm by myself, and I can do everything by myself. But as far as like kind of like instead of going to school and learning this stuff, it's nice to have those people that can kind of
definitely
guide you in the direction.
I mean, I went to school for finance, and like
Now
like
you're
what I'm
doing
doing.
film. Literally.
That's crazy. I mean, I kind of wish I did join. Like, I did one photography class, but like I kind of wish I did do that.
Like focus on it more in school.
I think what I've been doing a lot recently actually is just listening to. I mean, I've always listened to podcasts the whole time. Like when it comes to music, I don't really listen to a lot of music. Like I listen to like what my favorites are, but it's been like it's been like a very similar playlist for like the past like few months already. But when it comes to like, I've listened to podcasts the whole time, like almost all day. I listen to like 5-6 hours of podcasts. Like,
Really?
yeah. And lately, I've actually been looking at a lot of directors, like Stanley Kubrick, and then like
And they do podcasts?
not they don't do podcasts. But like studying their films, like when
Yeah.
it comes to Quentin Tarantino, and then when it comes to Christopher Nolan,
Yeah.
like those three are like my top three, like that I actually really like. And they're if you know them, like they're very influential, like Pulp Fiction, like from Quentin and stuff, and Stanley Kubrick's like The Shining. I've been recently just looking at their films specifically just to kind of study how they were, and I've looked at a lot of behind the scenes of like their
Yeah.
interviews, and it's very interesting how they work. It's very interesting how like that mindset works and stuff, because it's not just about like techniques. I'm trying to get into their mind, like how they
Yeah.
work as a person.
Yeah, because it's so different. And like that's what I was saying with Dirt, like the movie we were just
Yeah.
talking about. I was watching that and I'm just like, these like camera angles are beautiful. Like the way they portrayed certain messages and like certain emotions just through like
Oh, yeah, it was
lighting
nicely
or
done,
angles.
that movie.
Yeah, I'm like, this is crazy. That's why me and Lou were saying like we can't even enjoy watching shows or movies anymore because the entire time it's like
It's like studying it.
yeah, it's like, did you see like how they're diffusing that light through the window, or like look how beautiful like that like gleam
Yeah.
like of dust like coming through the window is, and like just the like people don't realize how important angles are and the lighting, like it brings so much emotion to the shot. So that's like, besides like studying like my modeling, when I do like stuff for creative directing and like watching music videos and films, like I just watch it and I'm like, how did they do that? Or like them shooting it this way made me feel this type of emotion. So now like when I go back and like I'm directing something, I know like this is gonna kind of bring that emotion. So you're completely right. Like you, not that you don't have to go to school because you have
At least
all
now
these
you do.
films.
You have like all these.
Like yeah, you have YouTube and then you have all of these films, and all it is literally just studying it and seeing how it's done and like how they do it.
It's very interesting because like when it comes to Quentin, like his specific styles have a lot of like dialogue, and he's the only one that could have a continuous scene of two people sitting down and talk for like 5 minutes straight, and you don't notice it, you know. And the fact that like, because I like that, like I think for me it's more about like storytelling than actual vision. But the storytelling itself is just like so interesting when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Like I'm still trying to figure out like how to
portray that really.
Yeah, because I mean I don't have much experience like making films. Like I don't think I have any experience. I made one music video and then like I just do kind of like vlogs in a way. But
Yeah. But you're studying up on it
Yeah,
to
like
be
so
able to
much.
reach a point, you know?
Okay, so for you, when it comes to a creative block, how do you overcome that?
So a really big thing for me, what I find like really helpful is music. I just grew up in a house where like Elvis Presley was always playing, or AC/DC was always playing, or the Rolling Stones was always playing. So I always grew up on that type of music. And once I started, like the age like 13, 14, that's when you start to like figure yourself out and find yourself. And I met like this group of girls, and we just started like, we would go to concerts together and go to like all these meet and greets, and we would wait outside of like celebrities' hotels and like wait to meet them.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
And
You were that girl.
yeah, I was that girl. I was really 15 years old thinking that these like 23-year-olds were gonna like fall in love with me. But the music industry was just something that was always super like influential to me, and it's something I want to touch base back on and find a way to like incorporate it back into what I'm doing. But that just comes with time. But music is super influential to me when I'm like feeling down or uninspired, when I can't think of ideas. Obviously, like I love going on Pinterest and Instagram, just like scrolling and just seeing work, flipping through magazines, seeing
But when you
outfits.
feel like actually burnt out, like something in a way,
Yeah.
like you go to music.
I go to music, and it just like listening to it, I just see these visions. Like I just close my eyes, and like when I'm listening to a song, I kind of just like envision like a music video for the song. Like
Oh.
I just see like
Yeah.
what does the song make me see? Whether it's like an outfit or a mood or an expression or anything. And that kind of helps me a lot of my shoots. Like the concepts and stuff have came from like listening to music.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And like just what the music has made me feel. So
definitely music for you like has been working.
Yeah, definitely. And then, you know, when I have like my little like bumps in the road, going on Instagram and like magazines and Pinterest and just scrolling and just seeing different lighting, different outfits, different makeup looks, different concepts, everything. Just saving those pictures, throwing them into like vision boards, and yeah, just like seeing things and hearing things and kind of putting things together in my head.
Yeah, it's always interesting because I feel like for me, like it's always been more physical activity stuff.
Really?
Like just to kind of like let that out.
Really?
Because being like a photographer, videographer is the first time I'm ever getting into like a passion that doesn't have to do with anything physical.
Yeah.
And I never realized how tough that is for me because I've always been like active. Like you said, you were in soccer. I was in soccer. I skated for such a long time too, and passing the energy like through that, like that's how I was able to keep going.
Yeah.
But now it's just like I now like my brain's working more like overtime. But like I like that more. It's just that
you kind of need a way to release it.
My way to release my tension is just like physical activity. So like I gotta get more into that. And like I don't like going to the gym because I've never liked going to the gym. I've always
even
liked
just like running.
No, like I've always like if I'm gonna run, I'm gonna go to like hiking or like a mountain or something.
Yeah,
but like I don't like going to the gym at all. Like I've joined like a fighting class before. Like I don't. That's what I like doing. Like I'll do that. But that's interesting because like for you, it's more just like feeling the flow of like energy and stuff.
I feel like when I'm feeling like uncreative or when I feel that like creative like block, it's usually because I'm just so overwhelmed and like wrapped up in like the way things are going and wrapped up in like Instagram and modeling and what my business is doing and just all the people I'm around. And I'm the kind of person, I've always been the type of person that I like pick up on people's like energy very, very easily, and people's like emotions and their intentions and their energy like affects me a lot. And like I think that's like a really nice thing, but it's also like something that like screws me over a lot because I like feel like emotion a lot. So for me, like it's when I'm feeling that like uncreativeness, it's usually just being overwhelmed. So to kind of let that go, I just need to be very relaxed and like be. And
that's important.
With myself.
You do need to do something like that. I feel like everyone has to have.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing. So what advice would you give people as a creative now? Just
like in general?
It's when it comes to modeling, like just.
When it comes to modeling, definitely like don't let kind of like what I was saying before, Instagram has really like taken over the modeling industry and people like are mixing the two up now. So as a model, make sure you have yourself, you know, distinguished, print a physical portfolio. Like make sure you're shooting to get content for your portfolio. Like you don't want to just be shooting for Instagram because that's what a lot of people do, which is, it's cool. Like what's what I said, once in a while I'll do a shoot just to like fill up my feed. But majority of the work you should be doing if you're serious about modeling and like want to, you know, do like this print and commercial work or, you know, fashion and runway work is you need to have like the necessities for it. So shooting to build an actual portfolio, make comp cards and print them. And, you know, as you get jobs, write it down on your resume, have a resume you can show people. And you just want to invest in yourself. Like that's the most important thing as a model when you're starting. And that's what Instagram kind of threw away is like, oh, I can shoot for free. Like, why pay this person? Like, I've been modeling for 4 years. I do this as a career. So like I make money off of it. But at the end of the day, I still invest into myself. Like next week, I'm paying one of my friends to shoot me because I need to like redo some commercial work for my portfolio. So it's like a nonstop investment. No matter how big you get, even agency models, they still invest into test shoots and, you know,
you kind of have to.
You have to. It's your job, and especially because when you're modeling, it's an everyday. I think if you're modeling every day, that's when it's kind of not every day, but when you're modeling a lot, I feel like that's when it's more of like a hobby. When you're just like collabing.
It's interesting when people don't invest in themselves because it's just like it's with anything. Like
it's lazy to me. Like I think it's lazy. I don't know.
I just think people don't understand it. Like it's like so
they don't understand the importance of it.
Yeah, investing in yourself is like saying, oh, like I got a new game system. Like I love playing video games. So what are you gonna do? Invest in it by buying video games? Yeah. But this is the same thing.
That's like if you went and you bought like, I don't know, like a $300 camera.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, it's great. Like, you can start with that. But at the end of the day, investing into the $2,400 camera is what's going to get you the results and the turnover and the clients that you were looking for.
When it comes to gear, it's very interesting, though. Like,
they stopped our live. We were on for too long.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know that happened either. That happened to me the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
How many people do we have?
75.
Nice.
Wow. Nice. But yeah, no. So as a model, like, it's just investing in yourself, making sure that you're doing what's necessary. But like you were saying, why people feel like they don't have to, from like girls I've spoken to, they've literally said because of Instagram and there being so many photographers willing to collab, they feel like they don't have to like pay for themselves. And that's again where that like line is. It's, you know, you can shoot with those people all you want, not pay them, but that work isn't going to get you accepted into a casting or into an agency, you know? So investing in yourself, and then just advice in general to creative is always, like you said, you get very overwhelmed. Your brain's working 24/7. Is this industry sometimes pushes this thing of like, oh, like, you know, team no sleep, and like if you're sleeping, like it's weak, you're not working. Like, they try to push.
Have to sleep. Yeah.
Like they try to push this like these unhealthy habits onto people and like make people think if they're not working 24/7 that they're like failing, or if they're not working every day, not posting every day, not shooting every day, that they're failing. So like my advice would just be, and this is something I've honestly just like recently started to learn, is just you need to take time to relax and wind down. And as much as you want to be, you know, working and stuff, you need to take some days to yourself and like refresh yourself, because you're going to run yourself dry. And that's when you get these creative blocks and you can't like think of things, and, you know, your brain's just fried, you know? So
just to put in perspective, Jeff Bezos, he clearly states that he stresses the importance of sleep.
Yeah.
And that his most important meetings are always in the morning at 10 a.m., but he gets the full like 8 hours of sleep. And like, this is Jeff Bezos, the richest guy. Like, this is the guy who owns Amazon. So he stresses that the most important meetings are in the morning, because that's when his brain function, his IQ levels like the highest and everything like that. And then progressively it gets like, you know,
the like
the later meetings. Yeah.
Yeah. Like sleep, like people don't realize it. Sleeping heals everything in your body. Like if you're not sleeping, that's when you start to get sick. You get acne, you get all of these things. Like your body heals during its sleeping hours. Like that's when your body needs to recover. So, you know, you need to take care of yourself, like physically, and make sure you're just eating right and eating enough, and just making sure you find ways to like relieve your stress and all of that without it being your job. You know, like I said, like the piano, or for you, like physical activity, just that. And, you know, focusing on yourself and your brand, your content. Like, you need to be content and you need to be confident with yourself, because then nothing's going to happen. You're going to be living your entire life seeing a picture and being like, oh, like I could do that better, or like, oh, like whatever, like why would she do that, or why would he do that? You're going to find yourself just always in this like state where you're comparing yourself to people, and you don't want to be like that. So just, you know, be happy with what you're producing. And, you know, if you're not happy with what you're producing, maybe that's like take a step back and, you know, reanalyze everything, restructure everything, and find a way to make that work. So yeah, just make sure you're content and you're confident with yourself and you're happy with what you're doing, because if you're not confident in it, it's not going to sell. People can see when you're not.
Yeah, people sense that, you know. Yeah. So like honestly, like it is, like you're right. Like it is kind of just being yourself. You just have to. I feel like that being yourself is what's going to get you far. Like being somebody else is like going to get you quickly somewhere, but that's not going to get you far.
Yeah, it's
depends what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I feel like when people are always in that like constant competition, like I've had girls I don't even know, I've never met before, never heard their names, like saying stuff about me and like my work, and it's like, is that just coming from like jealousy and envy, or like do you have a legitimate reason like not to like me? And I feel like a lot of times it just comes from jealousy and envy. So I feel like people spend this time trying to like play catch up and like chasing with people instead of just focusing on themselves and what they want to do. And that's what I said before, like I feel like a thing that helped me get through a lot of things was being passionate and just, I don't care, like, not that I don't care what other people are doing, but I care what I'm doing, you know, and I don't care what the next person's doing and their next move.
It's really mind-blowing. Like, if you really think about, like, so when the only people that could actually hurt you are the ones who are closest to you, because you know they're the
Absolutely.
people that who you put a lot of faith in and everything like that.
Yeah,
So when it
definitely.
comes to somebody who doesn't know anything about you and they say something about your work or something, like you kind of have to think about like who are they, like not to sound like conceited or anything, but you're just like it doesn't make any sense, like logically. If you think about it 100% logically, even like emotionally, it's just like they have no attachment to you. They don't know
Yeah.
anything about you. So how is this supposed to affect you?
Mhm.
So when it comes to like judgment like that, like you can't really like dwell on it, because it just it like emotionally,
you go-
logically doesn't make sense.
Yeah, anywhere you go, people are gonna hate you. You go to school, someone's gonna be giving you a dirty look. You go into work, one of your coworkers isn't gonna like you. You go into a store, someone's gonna roll their eyes at you. Like anywhere you go, there's gonna be those people that just are miserable with themselves. And that's what it is at the end of the day. Like they're not happy with themselves. So you can't let that other people's opinions affect you, especially if it's someone that is not even doing anything for you, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, thank you, Bree, for being on the
course.
podcast.
Thank you,
It was
Elvis.
a pleasure speaking with you again.
Me too.
It's been so long, yo. Like we gotta do this again though, with
Yeah.
like Lou and everybody.
Yeah.
But if I tell everybody where to reach you by,
My Instagram is Briana Sista. It's at BrianaSista. That's my main page, and then from there you can find like my business page and my photography page and everything. But yeah, it's always open if you have modeling questions or just questions in general. Like I said, I try to answer and give back as much as I can to everyone out there. So
do you have a website?
Yeah. I don't have a website. I need to definitely
Yeah,
need
you
to.
should
I
make
just
this.
don't know. Like I feel like I would need to make like 7 different websites. Like I don't know. That's like I started like working on one for my modeling, but then I was like, do I put like a creative directing tab and like a photography tab?
I mean, you
And
can,
it's like
it's your
it's just
website.
like all over the place.
Yeah.
Messy.
Hey, thank you, Bree.
Of
This
course,
is Elvis.
thank you.
Elvis Likes Photos. You find me like anywhere. Elvis Likes Photos. Technically YouTube.
Except Twitter.
Except Twitter. For some reason, I can't fit the S. Like I'm so upset about that.
Elvis only likes one photo.
on Twitter. So upset about that.
Yeah,
but-
that's crazy.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening to the
Thank
Creators Block
you.
podcast. Bree, again, it was a pleasure. You're awesome.
You're awesome.
It sounds so cool. Yo, Apple did a really good job on their marketing stuff.
I feel like we're on a radio right now.
Put a theme. What's your theme song? Do you have a theme song? Like a wrestler coming in?
Yeah, I'm the next WWE star.